And Nancy Cordes joins me now to break down what we saw last night. And Nancy, again, President Obama's mission, other than perhaps making the case for his own legacy, was also to get voters, not just the ones in the House, but perhaps watching at home, more excited about Hillary Clinton. So to that end, and speaking to the delegates that you spoke to on the floor last night, how successful was he?
Well, it was definitely a full-throated endorsement of Hillary Clinton. He said that she's a fighter, that she doesn't quit, that she's intelligent, that she's tough. But these are also all things that we've already known, and we certainly know that he believes. I think both he and the vice president did a very good job of going after Donald Trump. They went a lot farther than they have before. He called Trump a homegrown demagogue. He said that he can't be trusted with, with the nation in dangerous times. Vice President Biden called him clueless. He said he lacks empathy and compassion. But when it came to describing Hillary Clinton, I thought it was interesting. You didn't hear any personal anecdotes from these two men who worked side by side with Hillary Clinton, very, very closely for 4 years when she was Secretary of State. Vice President Biden at one point said they had breakfast together every week, and you sort of thought, oh, well, where's this going? I'm sure we're going to hear about some of their conversations, but you really didn't. And so,
I mean, are we left to assume that was a particular choice not to?
Hard to say.
Yeah.
Either they didn't have any anecdotes, which seems unlikely. Or perhaps they need to get a female speechwriter on the staff, because I think that, when it comes to appealing to women in particular, they enjoy those personal stories. I talked to several women on the floor, for example, the night before, who said that their favorite thing about Bill Clinton's speech was when he talked about Hillary Clinton getting down on her hands and knees in Chelsea's dorm room to put contact paper in the drawers. That was something that a lot of women could relate to. And they said, I can see her doing that. I understand her a little bit better now. And I don't think that you probably had perhaps more respect for her, appreciation for her efforts after that speech, but I don't know that you knew her better.
And it's interesting, just if not now, when,
Right.
I suppose. Last night, interestingly, there are some who might not have wanted to have been Tim Kaine, bookended as he was by the sitting vice president and the sitting president, but it was his introduction to 49 of the 50 states, perhaps,
Right.
last night. How do you think he did?
I think that the bar was pretty low for him because most people don't know him, and also because he had described himself as boring. So, even if you're halfway entertaining, then you're ahead. And he was very well received by the room. I mean, they were completely on his side from the very beginning. They really enjoyed his caricature of Donald Trump saying, "Believe me, believe me." And it wasn't a Saturday Night Live level impersonation of Donald Trump, but I think that the crowd almost appreciated it more because of that, and because it seemed so out of character for this Virginia senator who's sort of known as a very genial guy, kind of had a smile on his face during the entire speech, which made some of his attacks on Trump even more effective.
And we had heard one of the real assets, perhaps, to his selection was his fluency in Spanish.
Yep.
He wove it into the speech.
Right.
There's a fine line, though, that he walks between having that feel organic and perhaps having that play as pandering. What did you make of his use of his second language?
What senators have told me about Tim Kaine is that anytime he gives a speech, you're going to hear him speak Spanish and you're going to hear him talk about his faith. You'll hear some scripture, and so they say that that's completely par for the course. That we heard the same thing when he and Hillary Clinton appeared for the same time in Miami over the weekend. And in fact, you see there people holding signs that say "Juntos se puede." So this is just sort of part of who he is, and I think it serves as a counterpoint, the campaign believes, to some of Donald Trump's immigration talk. So they see it as a plus.
And finally, then, the time is now. Hillary Clinton will formally accept her party's nomination tonight. Bar has been raised. perhaps by her husband, by
you wouldn't want to be
the
her
First Lady.
speechwriters right now, right?
I wouldn't. And you know what? I wonder, we did hear, in fact, that the president, for instance, after hearing his wife's speech on Monday, got back in and started revising.
Yep.
Yes. So now, given everything we've seen and everything we've heard, not just here, but also from Donald Trump on the trail in the mornings throughout this week, what do you expect from her tonight?
Well, it's a lot of pressure to be under because, you know, basically you've had just a crush of people building you up for 3 days as this, you know, huge selfless hero, and now you've got to deliver. But at the same time, she goes into it with a lot of goodwill, at least here in the arena. You know, if not having sort of improved her standing in the country, which we'll only find out after the you know, after the convention is over. But I do think that it's interesting how it's being played, especially here in Philadelphia. I just took a gander at some of the morning papers. Here's the Philadelphia Inquirer. It says presidential seal of approval. You've got that picture of the president and the First Lady, I'm sorry, the former First Lady, Secretary of State, last night when he sort of passed the baton to her. And then you've got the Philadelphia Daily News, which says he's with her. And, you know, the reason that these images and these front pages are important is because Pennsylvania is often considered a battleground state. And every pollster will tell you that Hillary Clinton's success in Pennsylvania really rests on whether she can get out the vote in the Philadelphia suburbs. And you compare that with Donald Trump last week in Cleveland, where he couldn't even get the governor of Ohio to stand there on the stage with him in another big battleground state. So, you know, she goes into the speech tonight having been embraced by everyone in her party, and even some people who aren't in her party, like Michael Bloomberg, who left the Democratic Party 16 years ago, but said he's so freaked out by the notion of a Trump presidency that he had to come here and speak and call Donald Trump a con man, you know, and someone who, you know, maybe
as a New Yorker, by the way, who knows when he sees
a fellow New York billionaire who says, you know, you don't have to do business Donald Trump's way to get ahead. So yes, I think that the pressure is on. So it's a high risk, high reward kind of night.
Time is now. But then again, if you want to be president, well, welcome to it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the dollhouse, Nancy. We appreciate it as always.
Good to be with you, Josh.